Girls who like boys, who like girls, who like boys, who like girls, who like boys, who like boys, who like boys. Do 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 do. I'm on the radio.
That's gonna be in the cut.
What a thrill. My thumb instead of an onion. The top. Oh my god. You can tell I'm laughing at the Okay, take 6. Let's keep this energy when we get into the main show. Okay. What a thrill. My thumb instead of an onion. The top quite gone, except for a sort of hinge of skin. A flap like a hat, dead white. Then that red plush. Little pilgrim, the Indians axed your scalp. Your turkey wattle, carpet rolls, straight from the heart. I step on it, clutching my bottle of pink fizz. A celebration this is. Out of a gap, 1,000,000 soldiers run, redcoats, every one. Whose side are they on? Oh my homunculus, I am ill. I have taken a pill to kill. The thin, papery feeling. Saboteur. Kamikaze man. The stain on your gauze, Ku Klux Klan. Babushka darkens and tarnishes, and when the ballad, pulp of your heart, confronts its small mill of silence, how you jump. Tree-panned veteran. Dirty girl, thumb stump.
I think we should have said content warning, blood, graphic image.
That was cut by Sylvia Plath.
Welcome to the 9th episode of Poetry to Your Ears.
Welcome.
We're back to our older format, just me, Lulu and Tom talking about our silly poetry. We're excited to be here. It's been quite a while that we haven't been in front of the mic. We've got some cool poetry lined up for you today.
Yeah, not least one of your poems. You've been doing some really exciting poetry evenings recently, right?
Yeah.
I really wanted to get into it today about what you've been doing in your events.
So the first one was quite a private event. It was someone from Brighton who was leaving and organised arts performance night. So there was poetry, but there was also dance and circus. And I performed there some new poems, and it was really great to have some, live feedback.
How many poems did you perform?
I performed 3 poems.
Yeah.
So the most I've ever done, actually. And there was a really, really great energy, and people were really receptive to everyone. So that was called Brighton Arts Collective, organised by Valerie. And the second one was the first poetry night, organised by In the Margins Brighton. It was in Portslade. That was the very first one, and it was really, really amazing.
How many poets were featured in that show?
Maybe like less than 10 open mics, and then a feature and a headliner. The feature was Simon Madrell, and the headliner was One Inky Queer, and it was a complete success. The host was Shanine Morland.
In the first one you did, you were telling me you did a poem that was quite explicit, and it was like risky, challenging. You were a little bit worried about performing it live.
Yeah, it was a sex poem.
Sex poem.
So, content warning. I don't know how to use these content warnings things.
No,
but
you can just say like that, I think.
Yeah. It was like, I think, my boldest poem, my most graphic poem, and people really were receptive to it. Because I did 3 poems, and I felt like this one was the one that had the most reaction, and people were like clapping and stuff. And
yeah, so which is, if you want to explain for
that's in
kind of a form of agreement.
Yeah, to like say that you like something without full-on clapping and disturbing the poem. Yeah, it's like a lighter clap.
You usually see though when people do start clicking like that, you usually see the poet kind of light up a little bit. It does kind of like energize them a little bit, right?
Exactly. It's funny because at the performance, in the margins, one inky queer said that they were really used to people reacting and clicking and stuff, and when people are really polite and they just are silent, they're really not used to it and feel stressed out.
Well, sometimes the worst reaction is no reaction.
Yeah, but like people, it doesn't mean that it's not good. I think it means that people are respectful and they just want to take it inside.
Yeah, it's very different from comedy like that, right?
Yeah. It depends on the poems, because funny poems you can't help but laugh.
You can get a range of reactions from poetry audiences, whereas in the comedy room it's like you're going for laughs. That's 100%.
Yeah. But you can hear a poem and cry, and people can't see you crying, you know. But it means that you can think it was really good. We're gonna stop the suspense and
so
read
what's the name of the poem? So just so like we gave the kind of content warning beforehand. It's sexually explicit.
So it was untitled, but the first line is "Get a dildo," and I thought it was a good title.
Yeah.
In fact.
And how did you come up with that title?
Well, because it's the first line.
Okay.
So it just shows up like on my nose.
Yeah.
And you thought that was the title, and you thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And
I didn't, but when you performed on the night, though, I didn't realize you were gonna
keep it as
just
the title.
Announce it in front of everybody and say. That's how you did it, right? You said it straight away. You said to everyone. You kind of just broadcast to everyone.
No, I didn't say the title. I said
right off the bat, you announced that like this was gonna be a sexually explicit poem in the way that you announced it, right?
Yeah, because for context, I wrote it for my university arts magazine called The Borough, and the next edition is called Let's Talk About Sex, and I was very uninspired by this, but
tell us a little bit about that. It's an interesting point, actually. I remember now.
We're keeping the suspense then.
We're keeping the suspense, yes. When originally you were approached to write a poem for it, they gave you the theme.
Yeah.
And it was Let's Talk About Sex.
Yeah.
You wasn't happy with this theme in the first place.
Yeah, I was very inspired about a poem.
Inspired or uninspired?
Uninspired about a poem about sex, and what exactly do you talk about sex? Because it sounds quite like sex education when it's said like this. Let's talk about sex. It's quite serious. But also, do you make it sexy? Do you not make it sexy? And I think I kind of let it sink in, and quite a couple of prompts that I answered to, I start not being inspired and then find something in the next couple of days. And what I thought was interesting is actually my lack of libido because of mental health issues, and I thought that was kind of the unspoken about and like new theme, new angle, that I don't hear about very often. And because it was my reality right then, I thought that was the way I could make it most truthful.
Okay, we can't stand the suspense anymore. We really want to hear this poem.
All right. It's called Get a Dildo. Get a dildo. Suck that clit. Tip, tip, tip. Are you even attracted to guys? Watch porn. No, don't watch it. Piss and shit. Pay for feminist porn. Money, money, money. Are you even sexual at all? Suck my dick. I want to put it in your pussy. Come, come, come. Are you even? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Sorry, I don't feel sexy. Sorry, I'm not dressing hot. Sorry, I don't make the first move. Sorry, I turned down yours. I am not even in my body. I only feel the suffering, clenched jaws that taste like wasabi. I only reach under my panties to come in seconds. Veins filled with alcohol, relax it all. Giving you pleasure, or receiving yours. Bodies with bodies. You give me brush strokes. I give you photocopies. All I can think about is chores. Put my soul back in my body first. Make me feel nursed. Pull the pieces back together. Make me feel like a feather. That was my poem.
That's really great. I really appreciate that poem. There's so many interesting lines in it. What do you say in your tastes like wasabi? In your jaw clenches, tastes like wasabi.
Yeah. I only feel the suffering, clenched jaws that taste like wasabi.
Alcohol in my veins.
Veins. I only reach under my panties to come in seconds. Veins filled with alcohol. So that's like the orgasm, relax it all.
Yeah, and I just love the passion, the rawness, the openness, the honesty, but there's also a kind of tenderness to the content as well. You know, it's kind of like you're laying out like a guilt, like a shame, but you're also acknowledging it's kind of like a false shame. Was this how difficult? I mean, you wrote this poem at one point for this commission.
Yeah.
And then how difficult was it to say, okay, I want to perform this live? Or was it exciting, the idea of kind of pushing those boundaries?
I think there's such a distance that you build over time. From the moment you write the poem, where you try and reach the feelings that you have inside your body and inside your mind, to writing it, to getting someone else to read it, to knowing that you're going to perform somewhere, and then finding a poem that could be good. I think it just builds up the distance, and it's funny because it's when I'm in the mic, in front of the mic, that I'm trying to get back to this original feeling of what was I trying to say. Yeah,
it just struck me actually that when you performed it live, which I saw on the Instagram video, you were a lot more.
No, 'cause you were there.
You were a lot more energetic. I saw it on the Instagram video as well.
Yeah.
And I saw it was really energetic. Performance, really animated performance, you know, and you can kind of like yell parts of it almost.
Yeah.
Whereas like when we're in this format and you're reading it in front of a microphone like we are now, it's a lot more quiet, it's a lot more relaxed, it's a lot calmer. It struck me as like a really different performance of this content.
It's because I'm hearing my own voice.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing me breathing, which I wasn't there. And when there's an audience, you feel like you have to, you know, take this space, and it was a really quiet room. It was a really quiet room, so you really have to take this space and just be like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
You're all listening to me and looking at me. Yeah. Whereas here, I can just hear all the micro sounds. I want to be very specific. Yeah, it's quite a different context. I think it is interesting to talk about that. Just generally like performance, performing live.
It makes me think of, we were talking about you want to do like almost like a poetry album of like 12 songs in the format of almost like a music video. I
think I'm going to get back to that later because I want to talk a bit more about the poem, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to talk about how it works quite well as a spoken word, because the sentences are like very striking, and they're not very literary images that don't have a meaning. It's like,
it's shocking.
Get a dildo, you know, suck that clit. It's very boom, straight to your face kind of. And there's actually a line, because I wrote it for the page, you know, I wrote it to be published, written. there's the line that has 3 question marks that is meant to be read, but then when I performed it there, I said like whatever, and then here I said question mark, question mark, question mark, and I think you can make maybe a silence. You know, you can break a pause.
But that's interesting because you chose to say question mark today, but when you performed it that time, you said whatever.
Yeah.
But it's meant to be read as question mark.
It's meant to be read as question marks, but I just wanted to make it funny then.
Actually, okay.
Because they laughed at whatever.
I prefer whatever.
You prefer whatever.
Yeah. There was like an attitude in it, yeah. But so guys, if you haven't seen the performance, you can check it out on.
It's on my Instagram.
On Éloïse's poetry Instagram page.
Yeah, it's the links are on the Instagram, I think.
Yeah, cool.
It's Éloïse_Armary. Yeah, and also when I performed, it was kind of the first time I really took my time. I was quite slow at reading, and maybe I think this one, like just now, was a bit faster. But I'm learning that just like taking the time, slowing down, taking the space, it really allows people to process whatever you're saying.
Yeah, that's well, I'm really glad you bring that up actually, because I kind of wanted to mention about we got this poetry book by Clive James. I don't think he's a poet actually. I think he's like a poet critic. And he's got a book called The Fire of Joy. And it's called, the subtitle is Roughly 80 Poems to Get by Heart and Say Aloud.
Yeah, and he gives advice of how to read poems out loud, like how.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea of the book, right? The book is like it's to be read out loud or say out loud to yourself.
Yeah.
And rules. Yeah, he's got like rules on reading aloud, and it's a little bit long here to say them all, but I'll read you like the first couple just to like give you an idea. But it says, number 1, go more slowly than you think you need to. It's because you're ahead of yourself that you stumble. So, and second one is, in any regular stanza, pause for the length of a comma at the end of the line to indicate that the line is turning over. If there is already a comma there, pause for the length of the 2 commas. Pause also for 2 comma lengths at the end. It actually gets really it's like very specific.
Yeah, but you know what?
So it's really good advice.
It really informed me on how to construct my poems.
Really?
I read that and I thought, okay, I have to be careful on where to put the new line.
It's good advice for like anyone.
Yeah. Because sometimes
we all kind of need to read poetry at some point.
Sometimes I break the line because I'm like, it's too long. But actually, I just want it to be read as one.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, if someone else is reading that, they're going to make a break. And I don't want to. So it made me change the way I put it on the page, I think.
Yeah.
This thing.
And it reminds me of this other poet that I forgot the name of at the moment, but he reads his poem, like each line twice. Right? Even though he writes them once, he reads them twice when he reads them out loud to so that people can kind of really meditate on the line the second time.
Yeah. We were going to talk about making like poetry album.
Yeah.
To introduce that, I wanted to kind of introduce or review one Inky Queer's performance in the margins, because there was a poem that they did that had an instrumental line that I was actually based on a song, and the poem was reacting to that song, and they like produced the music so that only a couple of lyrics were said and the rest was just the instrumental, and they were reading the poem on top of the instrumental and was singing the lyrics that were there.
What
and
style
it was
of instrument?
Well, like bass and drums, and it was like a rock song.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And it was really brilliant. It was like 8 minutes, something like that, something really long. So I think they really produced the music to make it fit to the poem. I think, you know, we could ask them more about how they did it, but it was really brilliant. Like just playing around between
Can
music
we get them
and
on the
spoken
show?
word. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just to introduce like what you can play around and put some beats on the poem, or we said before with Afro the Poet, say like some wavy sounds and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with this kind of background ambience.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking maybe for your like poet album?
I think that would
poetry album.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah, but you'd have to collaborate with someone who makes interesting.
So actually, you can go on a website where you have copyright. You have free music that you can use if you credit the people.
But wouldn't you want to collaborate with?
Yeah, sure.
Considering you're based in Brighton.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
With so many artists.
Yeah.
I think by the time we get around to recording it, you could find someone really interesting.
Yeah, actually, I feel like it brings me back to the way I did poetry in 2020, because I did some videos where I had these texts. They weren't really poems, they were like beginnings of short stories. And I put music like this, like kind of wavy sounds, and I was reciting, but more in a dramatic way, trying to really convey the emotions, like a drama thing. And I put like the cherry tree. They're not very good videos because they were my first times, but I actually quite like this spoken word format.
And this kind of ties into the new Kae Tempest album that we've been enjoying.
Yeah.
It just came out, right? I think I saw it pop up
like last week or something. Yeah. It was a really recent. So how's it called again? It's called The Line is a Curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this crossover between music and spoken word and maybe slam. I don't know what the term is exactly, but they collaborated with a lot of different artists.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not 100%, but I think it was produced by Rick Rubin, who maybe the listeners know that has produced like loads of massive, successful albums in metal and the hip hop genre. So
of course it's like really wordy, because that's what Kae Tempest is about, right? It's like,
yeah. Well, it treads a fine line between like spoken word and rap.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've always been interested in rap,
but they're doing more the spoken word, and then they have some rappers doing the more rapid bits.
It definitely feels more spoken word, but every so often the lines rhyme, right? But the tone is more spoken word. It's more faithful to their original style.
Yeah, but it's quite literary still. The lyrics are wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to it to find a song or a poem.
Yeah, is it a song or a poem?
I don't know. To read out for this episode, and everyone I was listening to, I was like, this one, and then I had to kind of leave and have a shower and then see what kind of stuck in my mind.
The one you showed me was the one
Salt Coast, because that's the one that stuck in my mind, I think.
I just been enjoying it so much, it just all blends into one.
They put out a statement that was really wonderful.
Oh yeah, you wanna?
Yeah, shall I read a bit of the statement?
Yeah.
So it goes along when you want to buy the CD. So Kae Tempest says, the line is a curve, is about letting go. The core of the record is that the pressures we face do not always have to be heavy burdens, but can be reframed. The more pressure a person is under, the greater the possibility for release. And then, these general themes of acceptance, resilience, surrender are also about where I'm at in my personal life, in my journey towards a greater acceptance of myself as an artist and as a human being, being more honest with the world and my community about who I am, and letting go of some heavy, heavy shame, which is a glorious thing. And then in the middle of the text they say how it leads to a brighter thing with more collaboration. It starts as a really lonely poem, and then so it opens, and then at the end it kind of circles back, because they're trying to say that grief and moving on is not a linear thing.
No.
And that when you wake up you're always back at the beginning. And I thought that was really powerful. because we always think of growing as a one way. But I just really love this idea of the circle and say it's okay, and they say to surrender to the circle. Should I read the poem?
Yeah, can you read from, what's it called? Salt
Coast. So it's hard because I have in mind the way it's kind of sung.
Yeah, I think just read it in your own style.
Yeah. And of course you can listen to Kae Tempest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen to the whole album.
It's a great album. The music is great as well.
So it's called Salt Coast. Salt Coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain. Salt coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain. All dressed up, with nowhere to go. I love your sleeve-pulling nervousness. I love the way you crumble into chalk at your edges. I love the way you fade into a sky that is as endless as your willingness to try. Keep going, and it will get better. I love the way you push to get clear. I love the way you dance to get strong. Ancient. Silk clay, rock-formed, wet sand, moss-born, what came before and what will come after. Beneath the orderly cues, the bad moods, the night's views, the have-nots and have-tos, the night shifts in flat shoes, the discarded masks, the empty tubes, the colds, the flus, the reds, the blues, the bite to let, the play to lose, the white ace, the grey goose, the Michelin star, the fast food, the straight lies, the strange truth. I can hear the deep rasp of your laughter, joyful, beneath the stifled resentments and microaggressions, all part of the fabric. The tension woven so tight it defies its dimension, the see but don't feel, the know but don't mention. There you are, hedonistic, self-destructive, insecure, trying to get away from the mistakes you've made before. Salt coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain. Salt coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain. Veering into change, I appreciate your efforts, acknowledging your privilege, but prone to backstepping. Sure, it's not by our past that our future will be measured. It's by the very moment that we're slumping in, disheveled. 6 hours into some TV show that tastes like the feeling of pizza. I know what you reach for. All dressed up with nowhere to go, benched waiting for a path to open up, waiting for a thing that might make you old enough to get into the pub, where people drink to lost youth. I see you, scraping the gravel in your Air Max, so beautiful, so chaotic, so grounded, home. Concrete and gnome, brick dust and gnomes, wood floors, screen doors and a place of your own. Pay off the rest of your life, but who's asking? Restless the damp night approaching, distilling the heat, too long on your feet. Now you want to be free from the strain of what's done in your name. Every single inch of you is somebody's claim, the familiar refrain of their glory and your shame. You just want to keep moving, the energy contained is spilling out and making trouble for you. Nothing is the same. You got out from underneath the weight of suffer and obey. The tyranny and hate of Britannia rules the waves, and now you swing your hips as you go strutting down the lane. I love you when I see you this plain. You salt coast, you foul wind, your old ghost, you scrap tin, the browning of your leaves and the greening of your rain. Salt coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain, salt coast, foul wind, old ghost, scrap tin, leaves, rain, leaves, rain.
It's just like so dynamic and sizzling. Each line in the stanza is just like sizzling with energy and like frustration and anxiousness. Like they're really good at describing the anxiousness of like living in modern society, and that kind of getting kind of pulverized by all the different news cycles that are like hitting you all at the same time, all different crises. It really, I found it really inspiring, and just made you think, God, you want to write something that is that.
It's like so cathartic.
It's like, like something that is that of the moment, something that is that urgent. There's a great urgency to their writing.
Yeah, I just find that there's so many good lines and metaphors with nature. I really love the woven fabric. Where is it? The tension woven so tight it defies its dimension. Beneath to stifle resentments and microaggressions, all part of the fabric.
I did wonder if, the work would translate to like an album, or like a well-produced album, but it seems to have kept that that freshness, seems to have kept that importance in the lyrics.
Yeah, it's certainly
like
word-based.
Because if you could imagine your Kae Tempest, and then you've got this like big deal, like basically like a big record deal, you kind of think, okay, right, what's expected of me to write for this new album and this music and all this investment in me,
and they managed to keep the original style, which I think is something that you aim to do as an artist. It's funny because a lot of songs I'm really bad at listening to the lyrics, and I listen to them for the instrumentals most of the time, and what I really like is instrumental based. And poetry, I really like it. Well, it's all for the words, and spoken word is all for the words as well. And this kind of mixture is kind of outside of my comfort zone, because I struggle to focus on the two or even recognize the lyrics. Like when they're sung, the words are the same, and I struggle to recognize it. I feel really lonely in that, because I feel like most people relate to the lyrics very much, like you included. And having this kind of spoken word style on the instrumental, I think it blends it really well, because I can understand everything without having to read. And
I heard some rumours around town that you were thinking about starting your own poetry workshop. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Are they false? Is it true? I'm genuinely asking, I don't know, guys.
Yeah. I think other people do it really well. So I have been informed that there's a poetry workshop called Poetry Meet Cute, so queer and trans. It's online, and they come together and write. And in the margins is also trying to establish some poetry workshops. Yeah, I think there's a need to bring poets together in the creation of poems, and not just when they're finished and edited, because it's really hard to edit your own poems, and many of us haven't been taught how to.
Yeah, what about like an online feedback through like Reddit or like a Reddit group or something like that?
Sure, never thought about it.
Like,
you want to do that?
it's I think it's an interesting space to explore that I'm looking at for like my writing.
Yeah. Prose
writing. Like ways where you can get like almost like instant feedback from, if you put like a paragraph out there, very often there's like communities online that are really eager to read and critique.
You think Reddit is a good space for that?
I'm not so sure. I'm still looking into it. I just, literally the last week thought about it in terms of prose. But I think, I think it could be.
Could it be
because it's so popular, right? Because it's so popular, you'd get a more immediate response. But of course, you're gonna have to factor in that there's gonna be people causing trouble.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is, I believe that when you have these groups, for the most part, the people that are part of these groups genuinely do want to be constructive, genuinely do want to offer feedback.
Well, maybe...
Or genuinely do love poetry.
Maybe it's up to us to do a blog,
I just think it would be an interesting space to explore. And maybe some people out there listening to this may already know of some...
Yeah, please, if you...
platforms for critique.
I think it's interesting what you say, because there's like sessions, like workshops, and then there's over time where you can just pop in, put your poem in, or put a comment on another poem, and it's like the way the internet works, which is timeless in that way, and you can read other poems from 2014 if you want. It's really interesting. You're witnessing some ideas in construction. So if you're interested in that, you can get back to us, definitely, and we can try and put that together. If you know other spaces that exist already, share them to us, and we share them on Instagram and in the next episode.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to all the new listeners as well. We seem to have added quite a few listeners since the last time we did a just me and you episode. And we're going to continue to have guests.
I think we had wonderful guests who brought their own
thank you very much.
their own friends, and people who really like their poetry. So I hope that you're all enjoying our podcast.
We've got a wonderful lineup of poets to come.
Yeah.
We're keeping a secret for the time being. But
are we wrapping up?
Yeah, Éloïse just whispered to me, "Are we wrapping up?" But so there's plenty to look forward to with the show. We're going on holiday to France, and then when we come back, we're going to be very excited about
some new interviews,
getting back involved with the poetry nights and community.
Yeah, and if you want us to do maybe a review of a poetry night, not a review like a critical review, but kind of say what happened and what we liked. And
we're really
stuff.
interested in starting to create a dialogue between the listeners of the show and ourselves, so that we can start making episodes about stuff that you guys want to hear about.
Yeah, make it interactive. And so we kind of defaulted to Instagram as the platform to interact with people, but if you feel like you want to do WhatsApp group, or there's any other medium that you prefer, please tell us. I was thinking of making some transcripts as well, because it's quite important for accessibility. Please give us ideas to improve our show. We're beginning, and we're looking forward to some feedback and suggestions indeed. So I think
we're just going to wrap this up by saying thank you to everyone.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you later, guys.
Enjoy poetry.